a blockchain business today. Guys, we'll focus a bit on my story, on my backstory of what I have built and how I believe that uh, some knowledge from that, some experience from that is going to be critical in helping you build a blockchain business, considering that you're a part of the Africa Blockchain Institute and you are looking to build in and around the blockchain space. So that's something that we are going to focus on. Myself, I'm currently the CEO and co-founder at the Impact Wave, which is also a blockchain platform. It's a blockchain fintech platform. I'm also the advisory board member at Moja Lands, which is a blockchain platform in Africa, offers loans to farmers. Other than that, I've spent the last half a decade, more than that, 7, 8 years actually, almost a decade, in blockchain, building blockchain products, building blockchain organizations. This is my third startup in blockchain. So last one I exited, and so I have a bit of an experience building blockchain businesses. So to be able to do that again, considering that the whole purpose is that to talk to these couple of startups who have joined here today. So anyway, that's a very low number of people, so we can just talk instead of writing in the chat or posting in the Q&A. We don't need that, I guess. Happy to chat with you guys. I'll just quickly run through a presentation, which is and we'll cut it short. We'll keep it short a bit. Um, and we'll focus on few pointers later on what I believe that you should take care about when you're trying to build a blockchain business. So to be able to do that, I'll take the help of two stories. I'll basically go through two stories which I have worked on in the past. This might not directly be in related to, for example, there's KSA Events, which is an event organization. I'm not talking about event organization, right? So it might not be directly a story related to you, but the overall picture that I'm trying to form should make things clear. By taking this as an example, we have to take some example and start, right? We cannot study each and every industry or segment or domain, right? That you have to fit for your own purpose. So I'm going to take the example of what I started with, and this is both the companies. This is what I do work with, but not directly. At times, for example, I'll be talking a bit about Moja Alliance, which works on farmer financing in Africa. But so it's in Africa. That's why it's a good case study for you guys. I do not work directly with it. I'm just an advisor there. But when either that company started or my own company started, the current one or the previous one which I worked with in India, currently I'm based out of the US, so working on some other things here. But overall, I'm trying to bring out the picture that I have been considering or I have considered in the past when building a blockchain business, right? And what all factors to consider. But I'm going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops to run through it, and then we'll go to questions and then we'll wrap up soon, right? Uh, so let's take a look at two different stories. Number one is I'm going to talk to you about a farmer in Africa who is looking for a loan of approximately $5,000, basically African rand, and for purchasing modern equipment, seeds, and fertilizers to enhance his farming operations. Um, Another story which we will later take a look at is something I closely work with, which is, say, for example, this is an example initiative. This is not directly an initiative an actual initiative that we work with. This is a sample initiative of the kinds of representing the kinds of initiatives that we do work with, where I would talk about a solution that we built. Again, try to join that with the knowledge that you're looking for today, which is building solutions in the blockchain domain, building a business, launching a business around and in the blockchain domain. So this is, for example, an initiative that we work with just to probably improve air quality, in certain places. This is one example. It could be another initiative, say, for example, helping children getting educated in Africa, right, or India or other emerging markets. So moreover, because we are, you guys are from Africa, you guys are part of the Africa Blockchain Institute. Let us talk about emerging markets more, right? I come from India, right, which is also an emerging market. I have worked with other countries as well, in other countries as well, which have been emerging markets, right? So currently I'm not working. I'm in the US, which is not an emerging market, but in the past I have worked extensively in emerging markets, and you guys are in a very similar position. So let's focus on emerging markets. So this use case that I targeted, right? Financial inclusion via farmer financing. Let's take a look at a very quick roundup of the kinds of problems that these people faced, right? These farmers faced, and how I thought of solving them, right? Remember, this when you're seeing a slide like this, all you should start thinking about is that, okay, if this was the challenge, if these were the challenges, and if I thought about something to solve these challenges, and what technology I chose, why it was blockchain, what kind of blockchain, that's something that I would really like you to imagine for your own problem statements, right? So try to make that inference, and then I'll open up for questions in just about 10, 12, 15 minutes, and then we can ask, you can ask me your questions, right? I can try to help if things are not getting very clear to you. So, for example, when I looked at farmers in India, in Africa, I saw that, okay, they go through a lot of problems, many problems. The top four are here, which is number one is indebtedness. They need money, and then they take money from usurious money lenders, and then they go in huge debts, which they're not able to repay. The loan that they take are of high interest, which further puts them, further pushes them down the hellhole of debts, because since the interest is high, the loan starts getting like starts increasing. The payoff is much higher, and hence they are further indebted because they are not able to pay the interest either. The agricultural cost is high. The equipments are very pricey. The farming practices are very pricey and difficult to do, which also increases the overall agricultural cost. And then comes adverse weather conditions, which they have completely zero control over. And whenever these adverse weather conditions happen, India, Africa, Bangladesh, South America, whichever country I'm talking about, even developed countries like the US, but the US farmers are still able to, persevere through these conditions better. But what the conditions, the markets we are talking about, they are not. So they further, face a lot of problems, and that leads to a huge problem of suicides. This is the challenge that we saw. So try to imagine, try to understand, when I was imagining a solution for a market like this, what was the problem I saw? The problem was probably the four problems that I showed you on my earlier slide, which are these four problems. But the larger goal, the larger problem that I was solving was this problem. So what happened was, when I started solving this problem, not just affecting a few numbers, not just affecting, indebtedness of farmers, giving them better loans, giving them better interest loans, low interest loans, real-time loans, those are solutions that I offered. But when I started solving this problem, larger problem, that farmers losing their lives because of this, they're committing suicides because they are not able to make their ends meet. That's when I knew that, this is a very useful and a very worthwhile uh, challenge to solve. Then I came around to the technology, which will very soon come around. I don't have a lot of slides on the technology. I can speak to you about that. So just to give you some numbers to make you understand that what kind of numbers we are talking about. Um, so more than 750,000 farmers committed suicides in Africa in 1995 to 2010. More than 300,000 just in India, right? Africa across many countries. India, just in across India, there was more than 300,000 farmers committing suicides over a period of 15 years. um further Africa numbers, that when this entire so I saw it, that there are 33 million plus number of small scale farmers in Africa. The market is so humongous. Why are there not good solutions in the market that could help these farmers, right? So what can we do to not only make use of this number that you see on the screen, 33 million plus, but also bring, affect a huge change in these numbers that you now see, which are adverse numbers, which are numbers I would like to reduce. And then I'd like to use this number, 33 million plus, to build my own business, right? So that's what we did. Umoja Alliance, what does is they basically connect banks and DeFi lenders together with the farmers, and hence we deliver low-cost loans. I can speak 10 more minutes on this. This is the work I do on a day, not on a daily basis, but I advise them. I can talk a lot about it, but this is not directly related to you. So what I just focused on, I'm skipping. The slides would be available later on. What I just did was just focus on, what should be important to you. Try to understand from that angle, right? Quickly moving on to the other part, that, okay, when I was trying to solve another challenge using the impact wave, I saw that there are more than 963 billion spare funds available with retail households, yours, mine, retail households, which can be earmarked for donations. Not donations particularly, but investments in social impact causes. So when you are asking someone to just donate, they might not be very interested in donating. But when you say that there's an ROI involved, there's a return on interest involved, there's a return on investment involved, that's when people might get excited about it. But we found that 73% do not have an idea that they can fund that they can 73% do want to fund an impact and help these initiatives, but 16% only are able to fund an impact successfully, an impact initiative cause successfully. 57% have no clue about how to deploy their funds, and have zero idea about the impact that they're able to create. So even if you're able to find certain causes, so for example, during COVID, there are so many people who donated. But on a daily basis, even if you're ready to donate the funds, you have just no clarity and transparency of the kind of impact you're able to create. So if you're investing in if you're investing in, say, for example, farmer loans, you're not able to understand that what is the ROI that you'll be getting, or what is the impact that you're creating at the farmer end, right? So that becomes a huge problem. So lack of awareness is the problem, overhead costs is the problem, transparency and credibility is a problem, and donor priorities changing is a problem. That one day I want to donate to this cause and that cause and that cause, and this becomes a huge problem, and hence the initiative is underfunded. So there are two things. One, a retail household is not able to fund. Number one, the retail household does not know what exactly to fund, where to fund, which initiative to fund. And number three, even if they're able to fund, they have no clue and transparency about the impact they're able to create. And on the other side, the receiver side, these initiatives are underfunded because, so for example, if I take up an initiative, I take up a project that I'll educate 1 million students in Africa. If I just get 10% of my funds, it doesn't mean that I'm able to do 10% of that 1 million students. No, it's that I am with that 10%, I would be able to set up my project, right? So hence the number of students educated becomes zero. So you see how the problem is propagates across both the sides, right? So what the platform does, basically what my platform does, that's again another problem that we solve to try to draw parallels with this. So what we tried doing is basically, we started connecting. We thought that, okay, these are the problems. I just counted the problems in front of you. These are the two problems. Let's bring them together, build a platform in between, blockchain-based platform, because you remember one of my points was about transparency. Excuse me, that's what blockchain does. Drives a lot of transparency in your everyday in your everyday initiatives and operations, right? So now both sides are able to come to the same page and fund. And how do we solve this? We also got in some additional pieces of technology. For example, we use blockchain for bringing in transparency and impact distribution, and now the donor or the investor is able to realize and understand what is the kind of exact impact that they're able to make. Plus, we put in AI, which powered the impact validation. We do not onboard initiatives without validating them via AI and making sure that what you as an investor want as preferences of investment and what a certain cause can provide, they match, they meet, and that's done by AI. So see, combination of technology. So this is also one thing that I would really want you to focus on. That doesn't mean that if you're building a blockchain business, you would only be using blockchain, right? Or just because you're a part of Africa Blockchain Institute, you're incubated there, doesn't mean that you have to use only blockchain, nothing else. You need to use a combination of technologies as and where necessary, and you deem fit. So, for example, in our case, we saw that, okay, blockchain is fine, but we also need artificial intelligence as a first step. Blockchain comes in later in our picture, even though we are a blockchain organization. The other organizations I work with are also blockchain organizations. But I understood that to be able to arrive at that solution, I need AI to first tell me who matches best with what, right? So I combine these technologies. There are other technologies also I combined with. Then inside blockchain, I would combine that, okay, private blockchain, permission blockchain, public blockchain, what kind of tokens? Do I even need tokens or not, right? So all of that is very, very important, right? So that's what we should understand. So for example, case events, right? There are certain event organizations and event websites I know who are looking to use blockchain technology behind the scenes. I would suggest that you as an entity are very clear about, see, I have not heard a lot about you yet. I don't know what exact business you're in. I just heard the couple of lines of introduction that you guys gave. But what I can tell you is you should be very careful about why you're using blockchain and exactly where you'll be using blockchain so as to make the most out of it, right? For example, there are other businesses as well. Not remembering, Authentico, right? Authentico was related to authentication as far as I remember, right? And 10 days. So that's where I remember when you were explaining. I remember that, okay, one thing that you should really focus on, authentication is something that blockchain has been widespread used in widespread, right? So um, just make sure that it's a very different solution from what is there already in the market. Otherwise, in Africa, if there's not another solution, you would be very successful. But as a startup, you do not just want to be restricted to a single demographic or a single geography. So then you should think larger. What are going to be the products or technology implementation that are going to bring you outside Africa as well, right? So that's it. But one thing before I'm almost at the end of my presentation. I'll take questions right after and then we'll close. So uh, again, that's what I did. But these are few things that you already know, because if you're today here, a part of Africa Blockchain Institute, starting your incubation there, then you already know something. Say, for example, how to build your product, right? These are things that no one needs to tell you. You would have already defined a clear problem. You understand your target audience. KSA events would know that what their target audience is and and who the target audience is not, right? Knowing who the target audience is not is much more important, to be honest, in my experience, than knowing who the target audience is, right? Because this can change, right? You know that UI, you have to focus a lot on UI, the user experience. These days, every product every product is a web product, is a mobile product. So you have to make sure that your experience matches across all the platforms. You need to prioritize features based on user needs and feedback. I'm pretty sure, this is something I did in every startup I created in the early days of any startup that I did or worked with anyone else, that what are the user service that you're running, what are the interviews that you're conducting, and what are you gaining out of that? What are the final data points where you really really need to work on? What did come out of such feedback calls? That's something that we need to do. Once you have all of that available, you just test and iterate continuously to improve the product, right? And make sure that they are scalable and secure. Blockchain is very secure by itself, but then again, if you do not build the product in a certain fashion that guarantees security to the underlying blockchain platform, then it is equally poor. It can be cracked, and then blockchain is not something that would be able to save you, right? So that becomes very important. I did exactly that, and hence when in my last organization went on to build India's largest blockchain network by doing that. The same things which I know you are doing, the same things which I already tried in my earlier two startups, which I did not work, but that worked very well in my third startup because of that experience culmination, and also again and again and again deploying the same strategies and tactics. Built what I was telling you, using those strategies. I built India's largest blockchain network. We were across many states in the country. We had a lot of, while working with farmers, we had a lot of farmers working with us. We were helping more than 35,000 farmers. At that time, 4,000 is a very old number, what you see on screen. This grew to 35,000 farmers. uh, 500 $600 million worth of tokenized deposits. So crops collateralized as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and kept in warehouses. Millions of dollars worth of lending line, multiple customers. We at the time, in a single year, 13 to 15 hackathons we won, 13 to 15 prizes we won for the best fintech, the best startup, the best agri fintech startup, the best blockchain and most promising blockchain startup by multiple organizations from in India as well as US, Mass Challenge USA, uh, 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 yeah, Google, Facebook. There are so many organizations that supported us, UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and so on. Underlying was still this. Underlying were still these strategies: how to build a good blockchain product, how to build a good blockchain business. And all of these you are already doing. This is just a summary I've kept for you so that it reminds you. I don't even need to go through that, because I'm pretty sure if you got into Africa Blockchain Institute, you have actually been able to solve many of these problems. What you are not able to solve at this moment probably is making that jump from 0 to 1. And I hope that this session helps you. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on mostly all social networks, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. Feel free to reach out if there's a problem you want. If there's any kind of advice, I advise a lot of blockchain startups and projects and even founders directly, one is to one also. So feel free to just and most of these are free, right? Most of these are free engagements. I'm just happy to help. Uh, Provided that time permits, provided that I get time. Do not please expect an immediate response with considering the kind of schedule I have here. It's pretty difficult to manage, especially across different time zones. but wherever possible, I definitely try to help. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. These are my credentials. I'll be taking the questions now. Feel free to just take down my credentials. This is my web. This is my email address. That's my phone number. But ignore the phone number. Just search for me. Just search for me on LinkedIn, and feel free to connect. Happy to advise on anything that you need. Questions, please.